My ex-wife and her fiancé want me to financially support her stepchildren. I was married to my ex-wife Laura for 10 years. Our relationship had its ups and downs like any marriage, but we reached a point where we both knew staying together wasn't best for us or our son Max. We divorced 3 years ago on reasonably amicable terms and established a shared custody agreement. Max spends 1 week with me, 1 with his mom, and I pay child support that more than covers his needs. I've always fulfilled this agreement without complaint because Max deserves the best from both of us. 2 years ago, Laura began dating Tom, who has 2 children from a previous relationship, Owen, 10, and Emma, 8. I didn't mind when their relationship became serious. In fact, I was happy for Laura. Her happiness benefits Max, and as long as Tom treated my son well, I had no issue with him. 6 months ago, Laura and Tom got engaged and have since been living together with their respective children. Until recently, everything seemed fine. Max got along with Owen and Emma, and Laura said Tom was a good stepfather. However, a couple of months ago, Laura started hinting that I should contribute more financially because Max now lives in a household with 2 other children who also need support. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she meant minor contributions like shared extracurricular activities for the 3 kids. But her expectations soon became clear. Laura suggested that since Max is part of a blended household with Owen and Emma, it's unfair for them to have fewer opportunities just because their father isn't involved. Essentially, she expected me to contribute financially to Tom's children's activities and needs. The first time she said it, I laughed, genuinely thinking it was a joke. When I realized she was serious, I calmly explained that my responsibilities are solely to Max and that I respect their right as a couple to manage their own finances. Since then, things have escalated. Laura accuses me of being selfish, and Tom has sent messages implying I don't care about Max's emotional well-being, claiming Max might feel affected if his step-siblings have fewer opportunities. I want the best for Max, but I don't believe funding someone else's children is my responsibility. It's a complex dilemma because I want to maintain a good relationship with Laura for Max's sake, but I also need to set clear boundaries. My biggest concern is that this situation is starting to affect Max, who's begun asking questions like, "Why can't you help Owen and Emma?" Update 1. Thanks to everyone who commented and offered advice. It was reassuring to know I'm not alone in finding this situation completely unfair. Things have gotten more complicated since my initial post, so here's the first update. A few days after our last conversation, Laura brought up the issue again, this time more directly. She called to ask me to cover part of the cost of a summer camp for all 3 kids, Max, Owen, and Emma. The camp was pricey, something I could afford for Max alone, but not for 3 children. I told her Max could attend and I'd cover his share as always. Laura lost her patience. She accused me of being stingy and selfish, saying the 3 kids have bonded closely, and it would be devastating for Owen and Emma to miss out while Max enjoys camp. She insisted I was ignoring the family dynamic and fostering an unequal environment in Max's home. I calmly explained that my financial responsibilities are to my son, not her fiancé's children, and reminded her that Tom has his own obligations as a parent. They should work together to manage their blended family's needs. This didn't go over well. Soon after, I started receiving messages from Tom. They were, to put it mildly, interesting. Initially passive-aggressive, like, "I hope you'll reflect and see how your actions impact your son and his environment. As a father, I do anything to ensure my kids feel supported in every way." I ignored them at first, but they grew more direct, accusing me of being a poor role model for Max. One said, "Owen and Emma look up to Max. Do you really want to be why they feel less important?" This message infuriated me, as it felt like emotional manipulation using Max as leverage. I didn't respond to avoid fueling drama but realized I needed clear boundaries with both Laura and Tom. Meanwhile, Max started noticing something was off. During his last visit, he casually asked why Owen and Emma weren't going to camp and if there was a way they could all go together. It was clear Laura and Tom had discussed this with him, which upset me because I don't want Max caught in these disputes. I told him I'd love for him to go to camp and will always do my best to support him, but Owen and Emma's activities aren't my decision. He seemed to accept this, but I couldn't shake the guilt, though I know I shouldn't feel it. This situation is wearing me down. I don't want Max thinking I don't care about his mom's family, but I won't be manipulated into responsibilities that aren't mine. Update 2. Lawyer involvement. My lawyer confirmed what I suspected. I have no financial obligation to Owen or Emma, now or in the future, regardless of their relationship with Max or how Laura and Tom manage their finances. He advised keeping all communication on this issue in writing and avoiding heated discussions that could escalate. He also assured me that any attempt by Laura to modify our child support agreement would be baseless as long as I meet my current obligations, which I've done consistently. Armed with this, I set a clear boundary with Laura via a long, calm message. I reaffirmed that Max is my priority, and I'll always cover his needs and activities. However, I stated I cannot and will not take financial responsibility for Owen and Emma. I also respectfully asked her not to involve Max in these matters, as it's unfair for him to feel pressured to take sides. Laura's response was, in a word, explosive. She accused me of being legalistic and unable to see the bigger picture, claiming I'm ignoring how her household's dynamic emotionally affects Max. She even suggested my lack of support could lead Max to feel isolated or resent me later. Not content with that, Laura and Tom began using Max more directly. During our last call, Laura mentioned Max had commented that Owen and Emma felt they weren't good enough because they couldn't join the same activities as him. This enraged me as it was obvious they were using Max to pressure me. I addressed this immediately by talking to Max during our next week together. It was a delicate conversation as I didn't want to put him in an awkward spot, but I felt it was crucial to clarify things. I said, "Max, I'll always be here for you and do everything I can to give you the best. But you should know that what Owen and Emma do or don't do isn't up to me. Their parents make those decisions. You don't need to worry about that or feel bad." Max seemed relieved but admitted his mom and Tom had talked about how families need to work together, and he sometimes felt he should ask for less so Owen and Emma wouldn't feel bad. This broke my heart as he's carrying an emotional burden that isn't his. I assured him he never has to forego what he's entitled to just because others can't have it and that he can always talk to me if something bothers him. Since then, Max has seemed calmer, but I'm still angry at Laura and Tom for putting him in this position. Thankfully, our relationship remains strong, and I'll do everything to keep it that way. I'm following my lawyer's advice, keeping communication in writing, and not responding to provocations. Laura has toned down direct demands, but I know this isn't over. Any advice on handling interactions with Tom, who clearly won't back off, is appreciated. Update 3. Things haven't fully calmed down, but the conflict has taken a subtler, though no less harmful, form. After my talk with Max, things between us seemed calmer. He was more relaxed during our time together and stopped mentioning Owen, Emma, or group activities. I thought Laura and Tom might have eased off the manipulation. Wishful thinking. During our last week together, Max said something over dinner that raised red flags. Casually he asked, "Mom said sometimes you have to make sacrifices for family. Do you think that's true, Dad?" I answered carefully, knowing this stemmed from a conversation at Laura's. I said sacrifices can be part of loving people, but it doesn't mean carrying everything alone. I explained that every family finds its way to work together, but it's important to talk to adults to avoid feeling pressured. Max didn't say much but seemed to process my words. It hurt to realize Laura and Tom were still indirectly pressuring him, using family to make him feel he should mediate or sacrifice for his step-siblings. As if that weren't enough, Tom escalated to social media. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot of his Facebook post. "Nothing hurts more than seeing someone who should be a role model turn their back on family. Kids deserve equality and love, not excuses. #priorities #family." Though he didn't name me, it was obviously aimed at me. Worse, comments from distant relatives and acquaintances criticized me, saying things like, "It's a shame when parents shirk responsibility," or "Kids shouldn't pay for adults' mistakes." I'm not one for social media drama, so I didn't respond. I explained the situation to close family and blocked others who just wanted to gossip. It's frustrating that Tom paints me as the villain when he should be financially responsible for his own kids. He seems oblivious to the impact this could have on Max. I'm taking a proactive approach to shield Max from this drama. I'm strengthening our relationship, ensuring he trusts me. I've gotten more involved in his school and sports activities, showing consistent support. I'm also documenting everything, Laura and Tom's messages, my talks with Max. I don't want to be paranoid, but a record could be useful if this escalates legally. For now, I'm staying firm without being confrontational, but every day feels like a new emotional challenge. Update 4. If I thought Tom's social media post was the low point, I was wrong. Things have escalated in ways I never imagined, and I'm emotionally exhausted. A week ago, Laura texted, asking me to cover school uniform costs for all 3 kids. She said Owen and Emma need new uniforms, but buying for all 3 is a financial burden she and Tom can't fully handle. She argued that if I paid for Max and the others, it'd be fairer and prevent Owen and Emma from feeling left out. I wasn't surprised but was deeply irritated. I responded directly but calmly, Laura, I understand blended families can be complex, but my financial responsibilities are solely to Max. I'm more than willing to cover his needs as always. However, Owen and Emma are not my responsibility. That's for you and Tom to manage together. Her reply was immediate and unfiltered. You think it's fair Max has everything while his siblings don't? You don't see how that affects their household? Maybe a judge should decide if your idea of good parenting is enough. Her threat to take me to court was the last straw. I didn't respond and forwarded everything to my lawyer, who confirmed Laura has no legal grounds to alter our child support agreement, especially since I've met all obligations and Max lacks for nothing. Tom then went further. During this exchange, he sent a message starting passive-aggressive and ending hostile, saying, "You're the kind of person who'll make his son grow resentful. Hope you're ready for the consequences when Max sees how selfish you've been." I blocked Tom on all channels. There's no reason for him to contact me directly, especially like that. If it's about Max, he should go through Laura. Sadly, this is affecting Max. During his last visit, he was quieter than usual. When I asked if something was wrong, he said, "Mom says you're mad at her and Tom. Is that true?" I explained simply that I'm not mad, but we disagree on some things, and it doesn't mean we can't be good parents to him. He seemed to accept it but looked worried. It breaks my heart that Laura and Tom are using Max to manipulate me, putting him in the middle of a situation that's not his. My priority is protecting him from this tension, but I can't control what they say when he's with them. My lawyer suggested sending Laura a formal letter stating that attempts to modify our child support agreement or use Max to pressure me for additional support won't be tolerated, and future communication must be documented. I'm focusing on reinforcing my bond with Max, ensuring he knows he can talk to me about anything. I'm considering family therapy for him to have a safe space to process his emotions without feeling torn between parents. Final update. Legal intervention and immediate impact. Following my lawyer's advice, we sent Laura a formal letter outlining clear boundaries. My financial obligations are solely to Max. Attempts to use Max as a mediator or emotionally pressure him will be taken seriously as a violation of his well-being. Sensitive communications must be in writing to avoid misunderstandings, and further legal measures may follow if necessary. The tone was firm but not aggressive, emphasizing Max's well-being as my priority. Laura's initial reaction was outrage. She sent a scathing message accusing me of damaging the family dynamic and failing to see the bigger picture. My lawyer advised no response, and though it was tough, I followed through. Surprisingly, a few days later, Laura's tone shifted. She sent a more conciliatory message, saying she didn't want this conflict to affect Max and would try handling things differently. It's a small step but progress. Noticing Max's ongoing concern, I enrolled him in family therapy sessions. I was unsure how he'd take it, but it was the right call. The therapist helped us navigate conversations and gave Max a safe space to express feelings without fear of causing adult conflicts. In one session, Max shared that he felt bothered when he had to bridge his mom, Tom, and me. He wanted Owen and Emma to be happy but also wanted to enjoy things without guilt. This confirmed the pressure Laura and Tom exerted had a deeper impact than I realized. The therapist provided tools to manage this, strengthening our relationship. Max seems much calmer now, and I'm committed to ensuring his only job as a kid is to be happy. Since the legal letter and therapy, the situation with Laura and Tom has shifted. They may not fully agree with me, but they seem to accept I won't support Owen and Emma financially. Demands have stopped entirely, and communication with Laura is now strictly about Max. Tom has backed off. No more messages or social media jabs. Whether it was the letter or Laura's influence, I'm unsure, but the drama has subsided. This was one of the toughest challenges I've faced as a parent. I learned the importance of clear boundaries, not just for myself but for Max's protection. I understand blended families are complex, but that doesn't mean the burden should fall on someone outside that equation. My relationship with Max remains strong, and this process has brought us closer. It's made me reflect on my role as a father and how I can support Max through this complex family dynamic. This experience taught me that being firm isn't selfish, it's protecting what's fair. I'm relieved things are improving and hope for long-term stability.